If you've been wondering how much you're gonna have to pay for your new Florida license and car registration, and you're wondering what the process is like, then keep on watching this video and I will break it all down for you. Hey guys, Genise here. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome, welcome. I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you like what you see. I'm not gonna ramble on this time. I'm just gonna get right into it because I feel like it's gonna be a hefty one. So on Friday, February 19th, Josue and I went and made it official. We became Florida residents. We switched over our licenses and our car registration to Florida. Woo woo. And I wanted to just go through the process here with you because I know I had a few questions going into it. And if you're anything like me, you wanna know everything before you go someplace. So the first bit of information that I wanna give you is the time frame. What is the time frame in which you have to actually have this done when you're down here in Florida? Because you just can't come over here and drive forever with all of your license plates from a different state or anything like that. They do give you time frames to do this stuff in. And I am going to be checking on my notes because I want to make sure that I get all of this information right. I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. So according to the Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles website, a new resident of Florida must obtain Florida car insurance as well as title and register their vehicles within 10 days, guys. 10 days of establishing residency. And they must also obtain a Florida driver license within 30 days of establishing residency. So that obviously leads into the next question of what do they consider establishing Florida residency? You can do that in one of 5 ways. The first one is you start working here in Florida. If you enroll your children in one of their public schools here in Florida, they consider you a resident. If you register to vote here in Florida, you're considered a resident. If you've been living here for 6 months consecutively, they consider you a resident. And the fifth and final way to establish residency here in Florida is you file for a homestead tax exemption here in Florida. Those are the 5 ways that you officially establish residency here in Florida. And once that happens, the time clock starts ticking. I'm actually going to leave the link to that website down below in the description box. So if you're interested in taking a look at all of that information for yourself, that's where you can find it. So where do you go for these services? It might be a little different in the state that you're coming from. I'm not sure, but coming from New York, I had to always go to a DMV, a Department of Motor Vehicles office all the time, and it was torture, I tell you. It's a little different here in Florida. Each county here in Florida has a tax collectors or has a couple of different tax collector offices, and that is where you would go here in Florida to take care of anything that has to do with licenses and car registrations. I will also be leaving a link down in the description box listing all of the different locations here in Florida, and it all depends on your county. I mean, you could technically go out of your county to a different tax collector's office if you want to, but I think they have certain rules. You have to have an appointment, a certain kind of appointment. Just look into it before you do it, but I think it's always easier to just stick within your own county. Either way, it looks like due to COVID, they are asking all of the people who want to come and be seen and helped to make an appointment beforehand. So check out that link down below in the description box because it's definitely an important one. What happened with us is that in Polk County, that's the county we're in, they have, I believe it was 3 or 4 maybe, different offices, locations that we could go to. And we got here January 18th and we were not able to get an appointment up until just the other day on February 19th. So those appointments are going quick. My tip to you would be about a month out before you're planning on actually going in and getting all of this changed over to make your appointment way ahead of time. Okay, so what documentation do you need to take? As soon as you make your appointment, I would suggest you start looking through your documentation and gathering it all together. That's what I did so I could make sure that I had everything, all of my ducks in a row. You don't want to make the trip over there, wait, and then they send you away because you don't have everything that you need. So the documentation that you're going to need will vary. It all depends on what it is that you're going to do when you get to the office. I would suggest just handling it all in one swoop. I mean, why would you go there, wait, sit down, spend time and do one thing and then just to come back and do it again? I think that makes the most sense, but do you? And the documentation, like I said, will depend on what it is that you're planning on doing on that specific day. So for the license, you're going to need to provide documentation that you are used. So that's either going to be a birth certificate or a valid passport, US passport. Also, keep in mind that if your name has changed, like my last name changed due to marriage, you're going to have to also show up with the documentation showing why your name has changed and to what. So for me, since it was due to marrying Josue, I had to bring in my marriage certificate along with my birth certificate, because obviously the name on my birth certificate does not match my married name now. So if that's something that you have to think about, then, you know, gather your marriage certificate or your divorce decree or anything like that. Any reason that your name has changed in the last couple of years, bring it along with you. And I also want to note that they want the originals of all of these pieces of documentation. Please also keep in mind that if you're transferring your license from an out-of-state license to a Florida license, that they're going to want to see the out-of-state license as well. I know I shouldn't have to say this, but trust me, there are people who need this reminder. Don't feel bad if it's you. This is just me reminding you that bring in your current license, because they're going to take it, they're going to need it, and they're going to use it. And then when they hand it back to you and it's no good anymore, they're going to snip it right in the corner. And it's like they're cutting the ties between you and your former self. No, between you and your former state, because you are now a resident of Florida. Okay, so after that, you will also need to prove that you have a social security number here in the United States. So that would mean either your social security card, which is just the easiest one to hand over if you have it. I believe you could also use a pay stub, anything that has your full name and isn't handwritten and has your social security number on it could possibly work. And finally, you would need to hand over 2 pieces of documentation that would prove your residential address. So when Josue and I got here, we made sure that we both signed up to get a bill under our name, each of our names. So he gets the Spectrum internet bill for the house under his name, and I get the electric bill under my name. So when we got there, he gave them that bill, I gave them my bill, and then we printed out 1 copy of our lease here in the townhouse, and it had both of our names on there plus the address. So those ended up being our 2 pieces of documentation proving the address. If you want to see what else could be used as proof of residential address, then again, check out that link in the description box, because they break down all the pieces of documentation that could be used. And that was it for the licenses. Now, when it came time to register our vehicle, there was other information that we needed to hand them for that. One of them was that we had to give them proof that our car was insured with Florida insurance. And let me just share that this had me a little bit worried, because when I looked on the website, they told me that I would not be able to register my car here in Florida until I could prove that it was insured here in Florida. When I looked under my Geico app, it told me that I could not get my car insured in another state until it was registered in that state. So it was like, what am I supposed to do? Luckily, I reached out to Geico, and they were kind enough to actually send me a different copy of my insurance card, and it noted that it was good here in Florida. So I was able to print that out and take it to them. Just keep that in mind. Do not show up at the tax collector's office to register your car without having it insured in Florida already. Secondly, for the car registration, I had to give them my out-of-state title. Now, this is where it might get a little, I don't know, murky for some people. Luckily for us, we didn't have any lien on our car. We finished paying our car off last year. I believe it was the beginning of last year. So our title, it doesn't have any liens on it. If you do have a lien holder on your title, then you need to get in contact with your lien holder and ask them to transfer it over to Florida. And outside of that, I don't want to say any more because that wasn't my experience. I want to tell you from the things that I actually did myself and learned myself. But I know for sure you're going to have to contact the lien holder and ask them to transfer it over. Anything outside of that, you might have to give the tax collector's office a call and ask them for any more guidance on that. But for us, it was a little bit easier because, like I said, we had already paid off the car. We had no lien holder. The car was outright ours. So I handed over my title as well for our little Honda Civic, and that was that. And finally, the only other piece that was missing to the car registration puzzle was that the employee that was helping us with all of our paperwork had to physically get up with Josue and go out to the car to take a look at it, because they have to verify the VIN and they also have to see the mileage. So whatever vehicle that you're trying to get registered, make sure you bring it with you because they're going to want to see it. And that was pretty much it for the documentation. So moving on to the cost, because I know that is probably what is on a lot of your minds right now, and a good big point of interest. So the cost for everything, doing the 2 licenses and the registration of the car and the title transfer over to Florida, came out to $535. And that was for our one car, our little Honda Civic. So I'm sorry if you have more than one vehicle, but be prepared. Here's the breakdown. For transferring over our license from New York to Florida, it came out to $54.25. Let me see. I have my notes. Just let me check. Yes, $54.25. So that is with $48 being for the license transfer plus a $6.25 service fee, which comes out to $54.25. And you multiply that by 2 because it was for me and for my husband. So that came out to $108.50. Then the next one that we were hit with was the transfer of the car title. We had to put in an application for it to be transferred, and that came out to $88.25, which brings the total up to $196.75 with the licenses. And then finally, the actual cost of the registration was $325.20, which brought the grand total up to $521.95. And this brings me to my second tip going into this is don't pay by a credit card or debit card, because they charge a 2.5 convenience fee for that. If you're gonna go there, try to bring cash, try to bring a check or a money order. You could pay with all of that without having to pay the convenience fee. You want to use the credit card or debit card like us, we got hit with an extra $13. Hold on, $13.05. And that is what brought our grand total up to $535 instead of the $521.95. The whole thing took a little bit over an hour. I mean, I'm sorry, that would not happen in New York. They had just started implementing scheduling appointments in the DMV offices in New York, and even with that, I feel like all of this paperwork would not have been done in an hour in New York. Sorry, it wouldn't. And also, you wouldn't be walking out of the office with your official driver's license. In New York, they give you a little paper temporary license, and then you have to wait for the official license with your picture to show up in the mail maybe a week later. So it blew my mind that I walked out with my license in my hand. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, that was pretty much all the information I wanted to give you guys. I want to thank you so much for watching if you made it this far. If it was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you think somebody would actually get something out of watching this, you know, someone who's moving to Florida and is looking into information like this, then please go ahead and share it with that friend of yours so they can be a friend of mine. And again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell so that you can be notified of when more of my videos go up on my channel. Whew, and that was a mouthful. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.